This is 7 News, the voice of regional WA.
Tonight, coal miner bailout. The state government steps in to keep it afloat. A Bunbury masseuse pleads not guilty to a string of sex charges. Some new ammunition in the fight over a South Coast marine park.
And the full forecast for your weekend, those details coming up soon.
7 News begins now.
Hello and welcome to 7 News. $220 million. That's the cash lifeline the state government will throw to a foreign-owned coal mine in our state southwest. It means jobs and the electricity grid will be supported for the next 3 years. The opposition describes it as an unmitigated disaster.
It digs up coal to create almost half of WA's power, but the Griffin coal mine has been facing an uphill battle for the last year. Ageing infrastructure and collapse, the company behind the mine owes billions of dollars. The state government's solution, a $220 million lifeline. That's on top of the $40 million taxpayer dollars already spent. All to keep the company afloat, dozens employed, and importantly, the lights on in WA.
This is the only way that we can actually resolve it for now. A brutal solution, time-limited solution, and one which will see us get through this particular problem until June 26.
The Griffin coal mine is one of just two of its kind in the state, supplying the Blue Waters power station. After it went into receivership in September last year, the state government was forced to import coal from the eastern states. But the Premier is confident the funding will keep the mine above water for now.
By June 2026, we believe that the energy mix in the southwest interconnected system will have significantly evolved, and that will provide us with more options at that point in time.
The announcement slammed by the opposition. It says the move is simply kicking the can down the road.
They are going to spend $250 million propping up a foreign-owned insolvent company, and in 3 years' time we will be in exactly the same position that we are today. The coalfields are in crisis and Collie is in crisis, and the government has no answer.
It's incumbent upon the government to now intervene, to take control and to ensure that we find a way to keep the lights on by keeping this coal mine working.
The funding runs out in mid-2026. The Premier's counting on a successful transition to renewable energy. Pip Waller, 7 News.
A Bunbury massage therapist has pleaded not guilty to a string of sex charges. The court was told more people have come forward to make allegations against Anthony Brain. Amanda Sabatino was in court.
Good afternoon, Noel. While the court heard explicit details of the alleged incidents involving two women aged in their 40s. 37-year-old Anthony Brain pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of sexual penetration without consent. 2 separate incidents allegedly took place during massage appointments last month here at the Nomadic Masseur on Jetty Road. It's understood Mr Brain is the owner of the business. The court heard both women had never visited the clinic before. One of his alleged victims suffers from muscular dystrophy and is wheelchair-bound. It's understood about 25 more people have since come forward and made allegations against Mr Brain. Bunbury detectives are still working through statements. Magistrate Benjamin Tyers today refused bail, saying it's highly likely there will be more charges. Mr Brain will appear back here at Bunbury Magistrates Court next Friday. Noel?
Regional WA has lost a seat in state parliament. Today, WA's Electoral Distribution Commission announced final changes to electoral boundaries ahead of the next election. Josh Van Staden explains.
It's official, Regional WA will lose a seat in the lower house for the next election. Less representation for the regions as the population in Perth's outer suburbs continues to grow.
7 people to represent an area that produces a great deal of the state's wealth.
The biggest change is the seat of Moore and Northwest Central, amalgamated into one. That allows the creation of Oakford, a new metropolitan district, reflecting a change in population. In total, 51 boundaries have been adjusted, a process that must happen every 4 years by the Independent Commission.
Is deeply disappointing to all regional people.
The upcoming change sparked Merrimie Beard's defection to the Liberals. She won the seat of Northwest Central a year ago. She's tipped to go head-to-head with Shane Love, now fighting for one seat.
It'll be uncomfortable, I think, for us if the Liberal Party decide to field a candidate in Mid-West.
The race has seemingly begun. Liberal leader Libby Medham and Merrimy Beard are hosting a sundowner in Carnarvon tonight. Shane Love and the Nationals posted just yesterday. They too will have one in the Gascoyne town on Monday.
Some would argue the two parties waste some resources fighting each other rather than fighting the party of government.
Political experts say it's unlikely Shane Love will give up the official leader of the opposition role, given his profile is now needed to drum up more support in metropolitan areas. Josh Van Staden, 7 News.
House prices across our regions are at an all-time high, up almost 6% at this time last year. The latest monthly snapshot from PropTrack shows that prices are up 1.8% across regional WA.
It means that deposit hurdle, which is the most significant hurdle to home ownership for most first-timers, has increased. On the flip side, for those that are existing homeowners and looking to sell their home, plenty of homeowners are probably likely to see that the value of their home has increased over the past year.
The latest data brings the average price of a home to around $472,000, compared to the metro area sitting at around $622,000. An Albany mum is going to great lengths to help regional families having health problems with their children. Kate Mitchell's been supplying emergency hospital bags to families in need. Now she's going a step further to connect regional families with available services.
Darcy was only 16 months old when his brother found him having an epileptic seizure.
So I scooped him up and put him on our kitchen floor and started CPR. And then I was like, maybe he's choked on something. So I rolled over and did back blows. Nothing, rolled him back over, started CPR again, and we are very lucky to have him back today.
Kate says for the next year they were in hospital almost every other week, often unprepared without basic toiletries. So the Darcy effect began, hospital bags for families in need.
So we purchased little hospital bags pre-made with shampoos, conditioners, eye masks, and then we add a book in there as well. So all little knickknacks that hopefully will help if you're thrown into an emergency situation.
After travelling to Perth for most of Darcy's treatments, Kate found she'd return home feeling unsupported.
You're given the medical diagnosis and the medications that you need. You then come all the way home and you have that isolation, not only socially and I guess emotive through the emotions that you're feeling, but also geographically.
So, to address the regional gap, Kate has collaborated with Perth Kids Hub. She's adopted its model of mapping health services for children and applying it to the Great Southern.
If you're waiting for an ADHD diagnosis, you'll be able to see what paediatricians and psychologists have availability. So you're able to click in, have a look. It will show who's available, where they obviously work from.
Kate's encouraging parents to sign up to the hub and submit their location and needs. She hopes to provide that information to health professionals willing to travel. Grace Armstrong, 7 News.
The WA Fishing Industry Council has completed its own study into a marine park on our south coast. It says it's determined the best way to impose the sanctuary zones between Bremer Bay and the South Australian border without destroying the fishing industry.
Mapping out months of insights gathered from generations of fishers on our south coast.
We're using that knowledge to identify areas that we believe should go into sanctuaries. They're good areas, they're productive areas, and they've got great biodiversity.
The WA Fishing Industry Council's yet-to-be-published report claims only up to 10.7% of the South Coast Marine Park should be made fishing exclusion zones. That equates to 1,300 square kilometres of water from Bremer Bay to the South Australian border.
If they want to go higher than 10.7%, they're going to damage the livelihoods of people. It would devastate the socioeconomic status of coastal communities like Esperance. It would interrupt the supply of fresh local fish to the Perth community.
The state government says its proposal to set up sanctuary areas is intended to protect the valuable environment, lifestyle and economic benefits that we all know and enjoy today.
We've just come forward with what we think is right and fair and sensible and balanced.
He says it's a generous figure for the state government to consider.
We'll be submitting this formally to government over the next couple of days. We've put forward a genuine proposal, and we would like it properly considered, and we want to make sure that the interests of South Coast people are protected for the future.
The state government says it'll always carefully consider the feedback it receives from the community. Once the park's draft management plan is complete, a public comment period will open for 4 months. Jenny Shon, 7 News.
It's been revealed a Perth woman on holiday in Esperance is the Division 1 winner of last week's Saturday night lotto draw. Her prize, $5 million. The woman had been on holiday in the South Coast and had been out grocery shopping. She plans to pay off her mortgage and help family and friends. Amanda Sabatino is here now. Amanda, what's the weather been like across the state today?
Thanks, Noel. Well, the first day of summer did not disappoint across much of the state today. Taking a look at the synoptic chart, there's a broad trough extending from the inland Pilbara into the interior. Meantime, further south, there's a weak ridge lying across southern parts of the state. To today's temperatures, hot and mostly sunny across our far north, 43 degrees in Wyndham, reaching 33 in Port Hedland, the same in Exmouth, and hot in Newman, 40. Sunshine in Carnarvon today, 28, a warm day in Geraldton, hotter in Morawa, and mostly sunny moving into the Goldfields, 35 in Leonora, similar conditions in Kalgoorlie. Warm across our southwest, 32 in Busselton, much the same in Bridgetown, and along the coast a top of 29 in Ravensthorpe, the same in Esperance, but cooler in Eucla. A very dry day on the rain map today as summer swings around. Not even a full mil in the gauge to 9 a.m. The most rainfall recorded was in Albany, 0.4 of a mil falling in King River, and then dropping right off from there, just 0.2 of a mil recorded around the rest of the state. Now that warm weather is set to stick around for the weekend. I'll be back with the full forecast for your place coming up a little later on after sport.
OK, thanks, Amanda. Still to come tonight on 7 News. A Pilbara Animal Welfare Group scores a win over Qantas, and a warning about Christmas trees as the big day approaches.
I know you can win. You know you can win. There is nothing stopping you. It's fast.
Yes.
It's free.
Yes.
It's easy to play.
Free cricket tipping, big prizes. Get a taste of victory this summer at thegame.com.au.
DFS investigators will join police arson squad detectives as part of Strike Force Vulcan. The operation has been running for the last 14 years. Its task is to identify, monitor and arrest arsonists during the bushfire season. The crime of bushfire arson carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in jail. Specialist DFS investigators will be embedded with the task force for the first time this year. The team provides a rapid response to deliberately lit bushfires. Qantas says it will be more flexible when it comes to flying pets around regional WA after claims its policy had been leaving animals stranded. The airline today announced its freight booking system would allow pet travel for extreme weather days on early or evening flights when temperatures are cooler. Animal welfare groups Saving Animals from Euthanasia had called on Qantas to be more flexible after pets were stuck in areas where temperatures are constantly over 35 degrees. It says that had a significant impact on its ability to rehome rescued animals.
Truly, we couldn't be happier. Like, it's been so stressful, being so concerned about what's going to happen. You know, these animals rely on us.
Qantas says animals will still need to be collected in case temperatures spike or if flights are cancelled or delayed. A warning tonight as many of us start to drag out the Christmas decorations again. For asthmatics, both real and artificial trees pose a risk to people with lung conditions. But the experts tell us there are things we can do to reduce the impact.
Christmas is only 24 sleeps away, but before we start decorating, we're being told to beware of the impact artificial decorations can have after being stored away for a year.
The problem there is if there's defects in the storage. If the moisture accumulates, they may have dust and they may have mold, and people who are predisposed may have an allergic or a asthmatic attack.
But Oyster Harbour Landscape Supplies says more Albany locals have been choosing natural trees. Moving away from plastic has been the main reason.
Last year was our first year of sales and I was surprised that it worked so well. But this year already we've exceeded last year's. So people are definitely switching on to real Christmas trees.
But real trees come with issues of their own. Professor Moodley says they can bring pollen into the home and cause asthma attacks, but there's no need to miss out. Both real and artificial trees can have these risks reduced.
Either hose them down and then or wipe them down with damp cloth in order to reduce the exposure.
Grace Armstrong, 7 News.
Time now for our weekly look at the commodities markets. Here's Henry Caraher from CBH.
G'day. Harvest is continuing at a rapid pace, with growers delivering more than 10 million tonnes of grain so far. Weather challenges over the last week have seen rain delays, as well as some harvest heat bans due to high temperatures. Most growers are expected to wrap up harvest by Christmas time. Local wheat prices were lower this week due to continued strength in the Australian dollar. While wheat prices from the Black Sea and French origins continue to increase, Australian grain prices remain at a premium, causing a slowdown in demand. To barley, and prices are unchanged this week. As well as rain slowing harvest progress locally, across the globe, winter rainfall in France has forced an early close to planting season. Meanwhile, a lift in Canadian barley production is expected to increase export competition into next year. In the canola market, Canadian and Australian growers are selling at a sluggish pace. This is expected to put downward pressure on prices for GM canola, with any spikes in the market to be heavily sold. To fertiliser, and phosphate markets remain unchanged, with recent news of Chinese export bans supporting prices. Potash prices remain at levels well under last year's planting season, and urea and UAN prices have declined slightly, with some international buyers pausing shipments. And that's a wrap for this week's grain and fertiliser markets.
You're watching 7 News. Sport is next, and tonight, a Sheffield Shield draw. Then the little southwest town awash with cricket players. WA Sheffield Shield clash with Queensland has ended in a draw. 2 sessions were lost to rain on the opening day. Queensland went into the final day with almost no hope of a result. They tried but just didn't make it. They managed to make 3 for 137 after WA's first innings lead of 56 runs. WA sits second on the ladder. In our state southwest, cricket is quickly becoming the sport of choice for one small town. The game is so popular, the Burracup Cricket Club now fields 7 teams, and that number is growing.
A small country town on the banks of the Collie River, Burracup has a population of around 700 people. And among all the usual pastimes a small town has to offer, there's one standout favourite, cricket.
This small community is joined, through this sporting club. It's a big part of Burracup, and it's a great thing for us to have, and so many of us enjoy it.
The Burracup Cricket Club was started by local Barry Kelson in 2004. With only a few players at the time, the club now has 7 teams, 2 men's, 4 juniors and a women's team. Rob Gray took over as president 10 years ago. He believes it's the community-minded nature of Burracup locals that makes the club so popular, along with the benefits of playing sport.
In all facets of life, I think sport's a very important thing for people, not just physically but mentally, and to create those friendships.
The club also established its very first women's team last season. B-grade captain Claire Gelotti says it's a great way to get girls into sport.
They get to be themselves instead of they get let go of being a mum and a wife, an employee. Usually at women's practice we've got kids running around, so it's an opportunity just to be themselves, really.
The next achievement, the big 20-year anniversary in January, a milestone to keep the ball rolling for Burracup's cricket club.
We're all invested in the club, and to see the kids coming through has made us all the more proud and all the more conscientious to try and maintain what's been established over the last 20 years and to carry it into the future.
Pip Waller, 7 News.
Amanda's next with your weekend weather. And then in 7 News at 6, fan fury. Thousands of WA Robbie Williams fans stuck in a traffic and parking nightmare.
Welcome back. Before we take a look at the forecast, we have some golden wedding anniversaries to mention tonight. Congratulations to Robert and Veronica McNabb from Bunbury, celebrating 50 years of marriage today. And a big congratulations to Rhoda and Norm Wass from Dowring, also celebrating 50 years together. Some very special milestones indeed. Well done. Tomorrow, we could see some isolated showers over the northern Kimberley, but remaining hot across the region and over the inland southwest land division, becoming windy through central parts of the state. That's set to continue into Sunday, but by then we could see a light shower southwest of Busselton and Denmark. Remaining hot next week too, especially over the Kimberley, southwest Pilbara, northern Goldfields and south interior. But on Tuesday, we could see some seasonal showers and thunderstorms over our far north, but remaining dry across the rest of the state. Hot and mostly sunny across our far north, 42 tomorrow in Wyndham. We'll see the same in Fitzroy Crossing, but clear skies there, becoming windy in Karratha, and we'll see similar conditions in Onslow tomorrow. Windy across parts of the central west too, heating up in Murchison, a top of 40 degrees. Cooler though in Geraldton, 28 the top there. Partly cloudy further south, reaching 27 in Busselton, 15 degrees tonight. We'll see a windy day in Albany though, warming up in Katanning, 35, and a taste of summer further inland, 40 degrees in Merredin. Hot along the south coast too, 38 in Lake Grace, Ravensthorpe and Norseman, and mostly sunny across the Goldfields tomorrow. On local waters, swells to around 1 metre on both the Kimberley and Pilbara coast, westerly winds to around 25 knots, swells up to 2 metres with southerly winds on the Gascoyne coast. Similar conditions on the Geraldton coast, swells to around 1.5 metres on the Bunbury Geograph coast, and there's a strong wind warning in place for the Esperance and Eucla coasts tomorrow, winds to around 30 knots. Taking a look at the nation's capitals, showers and 26 tomorrow in Brisbane. Similar conditions in Canberra and back home, mostly sunny and a top of 27 degrees in Perth tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, Amanda. And that's all from us for this week. We'll have news and weather updates for you throughout the night. The team from Perth is next with 7 News at 6. We'll see you on Monday. Good night, Western Australia.